Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors are potentially on the cusp of making a remarkable blockbuster trade. And it does make a lot of sense on both sides if you think about it. And I'm going to break it down all for you guys and why this has even been mentioned in the headlines recently, because I was supposed to make a video on the Mavericks potentially trading Kristaps Porzingis last night. And then when I woke up this morning, I found out that there's multiple sources on a potential Kristaps Porzingis trade. Now, I really wanted to make a quick announcement before I get to the video. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it extremely brief. I've been dealing with some health issues, and I'm not going to go into specifics here because I know a lot of you guys just come in here to get your NBA news and your NBA fix and to move on, and I plan on keeping it professional that way. However, as a result of said health concern, I may have the occasional slip up. I might come off as slightly loopy, and if you really want to know what I'm dealing with, then just go to my Instagram story. It's all there, guys. Hopefully I'll be fine. I'm just really want to get to work. So before we get to the video, just take a moment to leave a like on this upload. And now that we got all of that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So guys, yesterday there was this report that I originally saw on Bleacher Report. And it said that league sources say that the Dallas Mavericks are quietly gauging Kristaps Porzingis' trade value. So much for quiet, am I right? Now you might be wondering why on earth that is. Well, currently at the time of this video, the Dallas Mavericks are 9th in the Western Conference. They're currently ranked 27th in overall defense, and Kristaps Porzingis' decline on that end of the floor might be a reason why. You see, historically, and bear in mind, these are advanced defensive statistics, don't put a lot of stock into them because it's really hard to gauge the effect a player has on the defensive end of the floor. But take a look at this. When he first got into the league, Kristaps Porzingis had a 0.3 defensive box plus minus, and then that slowly declined to a negative 0.3 in his sophomore season with the New York Knicks, and then in his third season it was a negative 0.1, before in his first season with the Mavericks it became a 0.1, all the way down to a negative 1.3. Regardless, he was still not positive in a box plus minus, and he's actually having the best offensive year for himself, at least based off of advanced analytics. And that's not a knock on Porzingis at all. He's actually having a remarkable season for himself offensively if you look at his basic statistics. He's averaging 20.5 points per game, 8.2 total rebounds per game, 1.3 assists per game off of 47% from the field and 35% from three. He's even beating his career PER with a PER of 21.2 this year. Now, a source told Bleacher Report that they apparently kicked the tires on everybody on their roster that's not named Luka Doncic. You know that Donnie Nelson is always trying to tinker with the roster, which makes sense. He's probably just trying to gauge the value of each and every player. They continued on and said they've definitely paid a little bit more attention and sniffed around on Kristaps Porzingis a bit more. They're taking the temperature because they know at some point the potential opportunity to trade Kristaps might come around. Bear in mind that just 5 months ago, Kristaps Porzingis looked like Luka Doncic's dream partner on the Dallas Mavericks, and he was crushing it in the NBA bubble. He averaged 30.5 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, and 1.5 blocks per game while shooting 38% from three. You can make an argument that if Kristaps Porzingis was there for the first round of the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers, the Clippers wouldn't even advance past the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if you guys remembered, but they were actually putting up one hell of a fight before Kristaps Porzingis went down with his torn meniscus. The issue with Kristaps isn't necessarily offensively though. He's fantastic offensively. The problem is what goes on defensively. You see, last night the Dallas Mavericks faced off against the Memphis Grizzlies without Kristaps Porzingis because he sat out due to lower back tightness. And as a result, the Mavericks absolutely decimated the Memphis Grizzlies. As a matter of fact, the Dallas Mavericks have a minus 4.7 net rating when Kristaps Porzingis is playing on the floor and is fully healthy. Now, in those minutes, Dallas has also allowed 119.5 points per 100 possessions, which would leave the Dallas Mavericks nearly 2 full points worse than the Sacramento Kings that are currently ranked number 30 overall. Now, here's the scary part. When Kristaps Porzingis has been off of the court, Dallas's defense has surged to a 108.7 rating, which is good enough for top 5 in the entire NBA. And when the Dallas Mavericks have Luka Doncic on the court and Kristaps Porzingis off of the court, the Mavericks are able to hold opposing teams to 111 points per 100 possessions. Now, of course, I really don't like these statistics because it never gives you the full picture, but it is something to take into account. Now, one issue could be the fact that Porzingis is still recovering from his torn meniscus, and if you just watch the way he plays, it seems like he's not able to get into a proper defensive stance. So currently, what the Dallas Mavericks are looking for is to potentially bring in a center to complement Kristaps Porzingis. A player like Andre Drummond would be the right antidote to this issue that the Dallas Mavericks currently have, which is one reason why a potential trade including Porzingis might be a little sketchy. Then you add into the fact that Luka Doncic has a great relationship with Porzingis, and the fact that Mark Cuban likes to build around foreign NBA superstars, and then you have to ask the question, what on earth could you even get back for Porzingis? What teams are going to be going after him and his 5-year, $158 million contract? A capologist, no, seriously, that's what he's called. A capologist said that I think you may be able to squeak out a lottery protected first from somebody, and you could net a return that the Mavericks initially gave up for Porzingis from the New York Knicks, a bunch of sizable contracts and high upside role players. Now, that first report to me seemed a little sketchy, and I initially didn't pay much attention to it. And then I got this additional report this morning at 6 in the morning when I was still awake. Now, this source comes from Ian Begley, who said that the Dallas Mavericks reached out to the Golden State Warriors to gauge interest in a Kristaps Porzingis trade. Now, this is a little interesting to me because the Golden State Warriors are definitely buyers at the trade deadline. They are currently the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and there is actually a legitimate chance that they make it to the NBA playoffs. But on top of that, they are definitely buyers at the trade deadline, which is really interesting because typically an 8th seed isn't considered to be a buyer at the trade deadline. More likely than not, they might be trending towards selling because you never want to be in NBA purgatory. You don't ever want to try to be an 8th seed, but the Golden State Warriors aren't your typical 8th seed. They are clearly not at full strength after being ravished by injuries, so they're in a very peculiar situation. Now, what's even more fascinating is if you look at the cap value that Kristaps Porzingis has and Andrew Wiggins has, it's literally identical. But the weird thing is that Kristaps Porzingis and Andrew Wiggins aren't even close to the caliber of player that they each are. Kristaps Porzingis is significantly better than Andrew Wiggins is. So the question remains, what are the Dallas Mavericks trying to do here? Because the only trade that I could conjure up in my mind is a potential Kristaps Porzingis for Andrew Wiggins swap, and they would ask the Golden State Warriors to include the Minnesota Timberwolves pick this year, which is top 3 protected, by the way, which is an incredibly valuable pick when you consider the fact that so far the Minnesota Timberwolves are the worst team in the NBA. Now, of course, that's subject to change now that they hired a brand new head coach, but still, it does make some sense if the Dallas Mavericks are completely trying to punt on the Kristaps Porzingis era, but when you consider the fact that he has a good relationship with Luka Doncic and the fact that, hey, is Andrew Wiggins' contract and a potential top 3 pick this year and a potential pick from the range of 4 to 10 this year that will become unprotected in 2022, but the Timberwolves being bad in 2022 isn't necessarily guaranteed. Is it worth it? Well, according to Mark Cuban, no. Because according to Mark Cuban, none of these Kristaps Porzingis rumors are accurate at all, which is probably what any owner would say if Kristaps Porzingis was included in rumors. I have yet to see a general manager come out and say, hey, you see that player over there? We're going to trade him. Even the Houston Rockets, when James Harden was losing his mind saying, I demand a trade, they never came out and formally said, hey, we are going to trade James Harden. It just happened. And they even denied it in the months leading up to the trade. So what is the likelihood of this potential trade happening? I would give it a 5 out of 10. You see, the Dallas Mavericks might want to move on from Kristaps Porzingis, but I feel like they'd give him more time to recover before coming to that conclusion. It would take a full failed season for the Mavericks to say, okay, the Kristaps Porzingis era isn't for us. I do expect the Golden State Warriors to make a huge trade on the other hand, because they have way too many pieces to make a trade not to do so. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Will the Dallas Mavericks trade Kristaps Porzingis, or do you believe what Mark Cuban is saying here? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.